Hello everyone, welcome to this Scopemeter video. In this video, I would like to introduce my two Scopemeter. One is a Fluke 9750 MHz Scopemeter. One is this Fluke 123 Scopemeter that is a 20 MHz. I bought both of them from the used market, so I didn't pay too much. But with a firm price, I would like to introduce some good features I found from both Scopemeters. Like this one, because this is a used Scopemeter, I think is almost greater 20 years. And this Scopemeter at least 10 years old. But both of them, they are still in good condition. And they are very helpful in my job because I'm an electrical control. In some cases, in the control system, we need to read the encoders. Some encoders, they are incremental encoders, so the output this is a high pulses, and some encoders they are sine cosine wave. So using the Scopemeter we can diagnose the signal and the sine cosine wave. All in all, they are really handy tools. And comparing with this two Scopemeter, most of the time if I work on site to diagnose the system, I would prefer use this one, the Fluke 123, because firstly, this size is really handy, because it's my hand. Basically, the size is similar as our hand. Functionalities-wise, it's simple and easy to use. Basically, if you need to measure a wave, pulse, high frequency is very easy to use. Most of the time, I can only just press this auto button and then it fire go. So we do not need to toggle so many buttons inside this system. It doesn't have so many features. For example, it doesn't have a curse function. And comparing with this Fluke 97, it provides 50 MHz bandwidth, so it's basically 2 more times bandwidth comparing with this Fluke 123. And this meter, it has a curse function. Also, one feature I pretty like, that is this special function. This special function from this Scopemeter, it can generate some signals, for example, 1.95 kHz or some wave or some slow voltage or current ramp. And especially from this Scopemeter, it has a full probe connector here. If we turn on this generator function, this generator signal comes from this port. So you can connect your scope channel, connect with this signal generator port, and then to verify if your probe is working properly or if this cable is working properly. That's a really good feature. So in this video, I will do a very brief demonstration how we can use this Scopemeter. So firstly, I will use this Scopemeter to generate one sine wave and then use this Fluke 123 to read this signal coming from this Scopemeter. So firstly, I will press this special function and go to special generate and then go down and then select this sine wave and use this Scopemeter to generate this sine wave signal. And also you can see we can select 1.95 kHz and 976 Hz and 488 Hz sine wave and slope ramp, voltage or current. It's very useful. So I will select this sine wave, and keep in mind, once you want to select this signal, you press enter. And when you want to turn off that, don't forget to turn it off after your test. So you need to turn off that. So when you turn on, this small dot will show a dark, and when you turn it off, it shows a small dot here. Keep in mind this. So I will select this sine wave signal. And according to this signal, so the generator signal comes from this port, and we have a A and a B channel, that is a Scopemeter channel. So the signal will generate it from this channel. Keep in mind this. So you can use this self channel and connect to this generator signal to test this channel, or you can connect another Scopemeter and connect to this generator signal to test other Scopemeters. And other than that, could be also used as an external trigger signal if you want to use another channel as an external trigger signal when we diagnose the sine wave or some pulses signal. Okay, I'm gonna connect this. And here. And those two center channels, Their probe is like this. It's similar like a normal multimeter probe. So the generator signal will come from this channel. And then I will use this scopemeter, connect the signal from this channel, and check out the scope from this scopemeter. Okay? And this scopemeter, I connect the A channel, and this is the probe. And the original probe from this Fluke 123, its ratio is 1/1. So I will connect them together. Okay? Firstly, I'm gonna connect this 0 first, common, and then hook these channels together. Okay, and once we connect, we can see the signal from this scopemeter screen. And most of the time, and basically I will press this auto, let the system automatically measure the frequency and the amplitude. So adjust the setting by itself. So once I hit this auto, you can see it will adjust to a proper range. And please ignore this line and this dark line showing in the screen. This is my screen problem. So after all, this Fluke 123 almost used more than 10 years. It's a slightly worn out problem. And as I searched from YouTube, I found one video shares a very good point. So we can tear down the scopemeter and heat the connector and heat the ribbon cable from the left side or right side. So use a heat gun so it can fix this problem. But I don't want to tear down this scopemeter, so it won't create too much trouble for me. So I will leave this dark line here. To measure a signal, basically we hit this auto and scopemeter will measure this signal. Here it will show the signal. Okay, and from this channel we can also, because now I'm connecting the A channel, so I'm gonna select this button. So from this button we can select the function, and now I'm selecting VAC plus DC. Most of the cases we will select this VAC plus DC. And according to this sine wave signal, we can also select this peak to peak, and it will measure the peak to peak value. For example, if I hit enter, so it will ask us if you want to select the peak to peak or peak to max or peak to min. For example, if I hit this peak to peak, so it will measure that peak to peak, that voltage, that is 1. So that is the signal coming from the generator signal from Fluke 97. Okay. And in next step, I will select the pulse signal from this scopemeter, and we will see the signal change inside this 123. Okay, I'm gonna select this special function, click this special generate, and select the 1.95 kHz. Click this enter. And then we will see the signal come from the 97, and this 123 will scope this signal. Okay, I'm gonna move closer. You will see. And now this is a peak-to-peak voltage, that is a 5, because this signal comes from the 97, that is a 5 volt peak-to-peak. In the meantime, we can also click this channel button and select the Hertz. And because the signal coming from this generator, that is a 1.90 kHz, so after I select this Hertz, we will see it measures 1.95. It measures the frequency. And now our x-axis, that is 100 microseconds per division. So if I press this nanoseconds, it will become wider and wider. And if I hit this S, so the value per division, that will become higher and higher. So you will see this. And this microvolt and voltage you can adjust, and you can press this button to adjust the voltage per division. For example, if I press this, so that means, so every division, that is 1 volt here. We can use the 4 direction buttons to move the curve to line up with the grid. And we can count how many divisions we have. Now it has 5 divisions. So that means the peak to peak, that is 5 volt, is showing here. So we can use a scopemeter to measure the amplitude of this signal. This is a very brief demonstration of using this Fluke 123. Another key function, that is a trigger function. If you watch this screen, you will find one small edge, that is the trigger signal threshold setting. Since the signal will always run, to capture this signal, we can use the trigger to capture the signal in this screen. So we can use this trigger, and we can adjust up and down or left and right to adjust this trigger position. We can hit the F3 trigger slope. And I move away from this signal. We will see this signal will move like this way. So basically, it's really hard for you to check the signal here, unless you hit this hold button, and you can hold this signal. But the best way is we will use the trigger signal. Move this trigger signal, it will detect the edge, and it will hold this signal. To adjust this trigger position, we can hit F3, enable this trigger slope, and then press up and down, left and right. We can adjust this trigger position. So you can move up or move down to adjust to a position to allow this small curves to hold your signal. Alright, this is the Fluke 123 brief demonstration. Let's shift to the Fluke 97. And this Fluke 97, it has more buttons of the Scopemeter. Likely it's hard to operate, but actually it's a similar function as this. So we will see this control the channel A, this control the channel B, and this can adjust the trigger signal. And also this Scopemeter has a curve function, so you can enable the curves to measure the signal. And other than that, it has a special function, allows this Scopemeter can generate some test signal, which is very good. And also there are two buttons. You can switch this Scopemeter to meter mode or the scope mode. And when you hit this meter button, that allows this Scopemeter run as a multimeter. And then you can use this two probe coming from this two channel to measure the voltage, ohm or dial. This is similar as a multimeter function. Okay, for example, if I hit this, before I test, I'm gonna go to the special function and check out if I turn off that generation signal. So we can see now this line still activate here. So I'm gonna click again to shut down this generator function. And then I hit this meter. So this allows me to measure something. For example, if I'm going to use this 97 to run as a meter function to measure this resistance value. This resistance, that is a 810 ohm. So let's see what the value of this resistance. I'm gonna leave here, and to measure the resistance, let's see the symbol of this channel. If we run the meter function, and as we can see, it shows a milliwatt, ohm, and the dial. So that means if you want to measure the milliwatt, ohm, or dial, you need to use this channel. If you are going to measure a voltage, the voltage above the milliwatts, so you need to use this channel. Keep in mind this. So if I'm going to use this channel to measure the resistance, I'm going to use this channel. So firstly, I will use this two probe. And then click this meter button and select this ohm. And then measure this resistance. So we will see the value that is 810. So 810 ohm. And if I'm going to use this multimeter to measure a DC voltage, for example, let's measure a battery. That is a 9-watt battery. So I have to use the channel A. So I need to use this channel A rather than this channel. So let me connect one probe to this channel A. And the 97, that probe come with this 10 times this probe. We can see the value here. That is a 10 time probe. Okay, I'm connecting here. And this probe come from this channel A. Okay. And then I'm gonna click this multimeter button, select the voltage. And then use this probe to measure the voltage. So from here, it shows 9.8 voltage. Because this is a brand new battery, so it shows 9.8 voltage. And another good feature from this Scopemeter, and we will see this small screen, it shows a trend of this signal. Okay. If I hit here, we'll see the signal got changed. We will see a basic trend here, which is a really good feature. This is the brief meter function of this Fluke 97. Let's shift to the Scopemeter function. And here's the scope function. So the screen shows a little bit dark. We can click this LCD button to turn on the backlight. Okay. So under the camera, it won't see too much difference, but if you are working in a dark place, so this backlight is very helpful. You can turn it on or turn it off. Alright, let me demonstrate how can we use the scope function of this Fluke 97. And I will use one signal generator. This signal generator that comes from a multimeter. That multimeter has this frequent output function. And I will use this signal as the signal source and use the scope function to measure it. So I will switch to this frequency and connect the probe to measure this frequency signal. So let's see. So that is come from the multimeter. And this is my channel probe. And firstly, I'm gonna connect this 0 and hook this positive probe. And then now it shows nothing because this amplitude and the time frame haven't set up yet, so we can click this auto set. So this multimeter will run very cool. It will click itself. I think internally it runs a couple relays inside. It switches channel, adjusts itself. I pretty like this sound. So we will see this is the frequency signal here. So after I connect, we will see the signal is moving here. That is a free run mode. Because currently we haven't used the trigger function. So using the trigger function to hold this signal, we can click this trigger. And then after you enable this button, so these two buttons, using these two buttons, we can move this small trigger cursor here. So let me zoom this screen. Let me move down this cursor. So we'll see this cursor is moving down. And once it's reached the signal, it will hold this wave. And meantime, after we hit this trigger signal, it will pop up this selection here. We can select the trigger signal come from A channel or B channel or external. Or you can select the pulse slope or negative slope and the trigger level. So there are multiple selections here. Or we can press this button to switch this A channel or B channel to AC mode, DC mode, or ground mode. So basically we will select to AC mode. Because most of the time when we hit this auto side, the system will adjust itself. In the meantime, we can press this cursor data and turn on this cursor function, so it will show up two dash line. Using this two dash line, we can measure something using this option. It will be very helpful if you are going to measure something here. It will show two dash line, that is a cursor dash line. It can measure the wave or measure the amplitude. So we can adjust the cursor, go left and right. And then using this cursor 1 and cursor 2, we can adjust the cursor position. And in the meantime here will show the cursor calculation results. So this is a very basic introduction to use this two Scopemeter. So basically this Fluke 97, other than the scope function, it also have a meter function, or at least click this meter function. It's very easy for us to use this Scopemeter to measure the resistance or dial or millivolt. And also it has a cursor function and this special function that is the signal generator function. And this Fluke 123, that is very straightforward. So basically connect the signal, click this auto button or adjust this time frame and amplitude. So it's very easy for us to use. And as we can see, that size is smaller comparing with this 97. It's very handy used on site. So that's why I brought these two scopemeters. If I work on site to diagnose something, I would prefer to use this Fluke 123 to measure the signal, work on site. It's pretty handy. But if I try to diagnose something, do some lab test, I will prefer to use the 97 because this meter provides more functions. Okay, this is the brief introduction of using Fluke 97 and the Fluke 123, these two scope meters. In next video, I will mainly introduce the power supply of these two meters, especially one good feature from this Fluke 97 because this Fluke 97 can use normal battery. I will talk about these details in the next video. See you in next video. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumb up. If you like to watch more videos in my channel, please subscribe and hit the bell. Thank you for watching.